Awesome. Well, welcome here to Khitomer. Um, it's like it's been said already, kind of hard to believe it's been 7 years that this has been running. So I just want to start by big thanks to all the hosts, all the panelists this year. This is always a really great event, so really excited to see. And big thanks to the community as well, because this kind of thing does not happen without an incredibly passionate community that really wants to be here and really is just super passionate about this, about role playing and all of these topics and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, really excited to be here today. For those of you that don't know, I'm Agent Phoenix. I have been involved with simming here for 20 plus years. For the last 15, I've been developing the Nova software. And prior to that, spent years working on the sim management system. So all told, I think it was probably 2003 or so where I kind of started in on the technical side of kind of the sim management stuff. And that's just been something that I've been super passionate about and have really kind of, I think, seen the passion of the community, good and bad, over the last 20 years. But I'm really excited to be here today for anybody that kind of didn't see about a month ago. I did announce that Nova 3 would be releasing this year. It's been a long time coming, but I'm really excited to get it into everybody's hands, and kind of in the process of figuring that stuff out, I realized that the Nova 3 demo site on the Anodyne server is about 14 months out of date, and that means that anybody that's tried to go see it hasn't seen any changes, but a lot has changed over the last year. So I had an opportunity here with Khitomer, I felt, to jump in and kind of give a demo of kind of where Nova 3 is at, and at the end here talk a little bit about time frame and at least what I know as of today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through a very fast demo over the next probably 35 or 40 minutes. And leave some time at the end for people to jump in and ask questions, to ask about different things that we don't have a chance to see during the demo. So probably won't be paying too much attention to the chat, but do ping me if there are questions that you have, or if there's an area that we look at that you want to go back and see, and we can do that. We can do that over at the end. So. I would say buckle up, because we're going to move pretty fast here. So let's make sure I am sharing my screen. And all right, just let me know if everybody can see my screen. It should be a white screen right now, but we'll just kind of jump in here and we'll start kind of right at the start, and that's let's install Nova 3. I don't even have it. Don't even have it installed. So let's just start there. So one of the big themes here, not just with setup, but just in general with Nova 3, it was really to just make it feel more modern, kind of make it feel more approachable. And especially with setup, really make it feel like it's kind of integrated and part of the system. So when you're in Nova 2, it feels very, very different from the rest of the system. This is Nova 3's setup screen. No clicks to get to verify your server or anything. We put it right up front. We're going to eliminate, and you're going to streamline. And this is going to tell you, are you running the right version of PHP? Do you have all of the required PHP extensions? You can kind of see a full list here. We can't actually verify the database without a connection to the database, but we do that as part of that connection process. So let's just jump in and connect to our database. I have a special database ready to go here. For my setup, I know that I need to do this. And there we go. That's it. So we've made sure that the credentials are right. We've saved our values, verified the values, and we have checked compatibility to make sure that everything can run. Next up, we'll just do our install. We'll give our game a name. And then kind of a quick note about genres. Genres are changing I would say pretty significantly in Nova 3. They are actually no longer baked right into the core. They are just another add-on. It's a type of add-on that you can build. So it means that anybody can actually write a genre. If a fleet has a specific department, position, rank setup that they want to use, they can actually write that genre file. And as long as it's uploaded with Nova onto the server before you install, it will be an option in here. So there won't be any of this sort of like, well, I have to install one thing and then remove it and install something else. You can actually just have that as part of it. Also, there is no such thing as a blank genre anymore. Like you can see here, we literally just say don't install. So there's no more blank genre to actually maintain. Also means that if you're not using kind of one of the baked in genres, that it does not matter which one you grab when you download. So that kind of simplifies things a little bit. Same thing, it doesn't matter what genre you grab when you update. For this though, we're just going to do our standard, what was in Nova 2 called the DS9 genre, and we're just going to start our install here. All right, so we're done here. We've gone through. Just a quick note: it doesn't exist today. It's actually the next step in my list. But everybody's going to go through the same process up to this point, whether you are doing a fresh install or whether you're migrating your existing site from Nova 2. The only difference is you'll see a second button here when it's built to either continue as a fresh install or migrate your data. All right, so let's add my user account. All right. Super secret password. And we'll create our account. And there we go. That's it. We're actually done installing Nova. We've been logged in. Again, streamlining was the name of the game here. If it didn't need to happen during setup, it doesn't. We do not create characters during setup. We do not change site settings during setup. This is very much about get you into Nova and you can do everything there. We don't want any duplicated effort, duplicated code. It just potentially causes problems. So here we go. We are inside of the Nova 3 dashboard. This is all fake stuff right here. The dashboard is another piece. This dashboard, I should say, is another piece that needs to be finished before Nova 3 gets released. But so this will change probably fairly significantly over the next couple of months. But yeah, this is it. It looks quite a bit different from the last time people saw it or the screenshots that I had shared. Done a lot of work here on polishing up the interface. But like I said, during setup, there are no characters. You can kind of see if I come over to my character screen, there's nothing here. So let's just get started and we'll just add a character for myself. And we're going to go old school TNG today. I do have access to the bio if I wanted to, but let's just skip that for now. I'm going to set up. This is kind of an interesting thing. A lot of these types of things where we're kind of adding positions, for example, this is actually looking at the name of the position or the department. So you can actually end up getting a whole list of positions in a department pretty easily. But let's set this as commanding officer, and we'll set myself. Let's make it my primary character, and done. So I've got my primary character, pretty easy there. But most of us don't actually play use Nova as just kind of a way to write solo stories. Some people do, but most of us play with other people. So let's go ahead and create a new user. And this has actually been a highly requested feature for years now, and that is the ability to add users without going through the join form. Very much like characters, let's just add a user. We're going to add Jonathan. And let's do this. Password is going to be generated in email. I'll show you that in a second here. No character that we're going to assign, no roles that we're going to assign. We're going to let Nova handle that for us. And we're just going to hit add. And there you go. So now we've got our new character of Jonathan. I will come up here and grab my email, and you can kind of see here that we've already sent an email out with a password. So we'll just grab this. Then we're going to bounce over to here, and we're going to we'll log in as that user that we just created. And you can see, looks the same. I have a few fewer options on the left-hand side, but I don't have a character. And that's a problem because that's kind of what we need to do to play the game. And I don't actually have the ability to create a character here. And this is something that was really important for a lot of people. It was important for me that we resolve this and kind of make this process a lot easier. So we're going to jump back over to our admin, and I'm going to edit Jonathan. You'll see here that we do have roles assigned. You can set that up yourself. You can actually pick whatever roles you want to be the default for new users. But I'm going to add a few roles here, so I can kind of show some different things. And we're going to hit update. And we are going to, oh, that's not right. Here we go. And I'm going to turn off just, quick aside, character settings. You can actually set all these approvals and require approvals for different types of characters. We're going to turn these off for now just to kind of speed things up. And I'm going to jump back over here, refresh the page, and now I have the ability to add a character as Jonathan. So if I come in and add a character, same thing. I have access to the bio. I can add my character. Let's add my rank. I'm going to be the executive officer here. And now there's this new section at the bottom for ownership. This is something that is different from what you saw when we created it as an admin. And that's all related to those roles that we just added. So this right here represents what is probably some of the most complicated logic in Nova 3. And that is the ability to create characters as a non-admin in all the pieces. There's something like 64 different scenarios when you account for all the different combinations of roles and settings for approvals. By default, character type is support. That's essentially what you would consider an NPC. If I had the approvals turned on, character status would be set to pending, and you would have a note here about why that is. But because I've got all of those permissions, I also have the option to link the character to myself. Updates in real time here to show me that this is now going to be a secondary character. So this is a protected NPC that is owned by me. And then I can also set this as my primary character. And again, updates in real time. So we're going to do that, and we're going to click add. And that's it. As a non-admin user, I've just created a character, marked it as my primary, and it's active. If we have the approvals on, it would get kicked over into the application stuff that we will look at in a little while, which would then have to go through and be approved by an admin. But I've got my primary character, and that's it. So if I jump back over here, we've got our character. We've got all kinds of filters and stuff to to kind of get this list to what we want. But there you go. Like that's just real quick look at characters. But I would be remiss to not, if we're talking about characters, to not talk about everyone's most hated aspect of Nova 2, and that's ranks. Ranks has been for a long time a really painful process. People, I think, really don't like when they have to go in and mess around with that. So that was a big thing for me in Nova 3 is got to make ranks better. We got to make them easier. We got to make everything faster. So let's take a quick look at ranks. We've got 3 pieces that make up a rank. We have the group. So this is just a way for you to collect your ranks however you want. This is kind of how it comes with the kind of with that Star Trek 25th century, 24th, 25th century genre. But you can change these to whatever you want. You can add more, you can remove them. You kind of saw in the rank picker as we were doing the characters, you pick a group and then you see all of the ranks in that group. I can come into here and I can see all of the ranks that are in here. So pretty straightforward stuff. The next piece is a rank name. This allows us to reuse that name across multiple ranks so that if you decide, for example, that instead of commander, you want this to be CMDR, I can hit update, and now every rank that uses this name has that updated name. So it just makes things a lot easier when you're trying to do rank edits in bulk. And then I can come in here and I can add a new one pretty easily. We're going to demo this in a second. So let's add, say, a Fleet Admiral rank name. Come down here, and you can kind of see that that's right there and ready to go. Rank items, this brings everything together. This is the rank group, it's the rank name, and it's the images. So let's just, the easiest way to show you is let's just create that Fleet Admiral rank that we just created the name for. And I'm just going to create this as Admiralty. I'm going to find my name, and then I'm just going to pick some images. Again, we're updating in real time. I can update to any of these images that I want. I can pick any of these overlays. I can do whatever I want here. But let's just set this up and click Add. And now we've added our Fleet Admiral rank. It's in the correct group. Well, only catch here is it's not in the right order. So let's change that. We're going to filter down to this. We're going to change this sort order. Let's do that and finish. And there you go. Pretty easy. No messing with class values, no messing with orders, and it has to be in the right order for it to appear and all this kind of stuff. None of that. Significantly simpler. But you are probably looking at this process and saying, this is great, this is way better than in Nova 2, but if I'm setting up a new game, I've got more groups than that. I've got, so I've still got to do this process like 50 or 60 times to get all of my ranks. That's a lot of time that I have to spend. There's one more thing. Select new base image, duplicate, and we're done. So we've now created our Aerospace Corps rank group. We've duplicated all of those ranks. Those are ready to use right now. So ranks in Nova 3, significantly better. If I do come into the rank items quick here, if we wanted to add Klingon ranks, Bajoran ranks, you can add all of that into one and then just separate them into a group. So it becomes really easy to just manage all of your ranks in one place. They can be split if you want them to. They can be single if you want them to. If you want them to be single, you just upload the base image instead of and no overlay, and then it would just work. You would just see all of them and you would just pick which one you want. So tons of flexibility with ranks. Cool. So we've gotten about as far as we can on an empty database. So I'm just going to make a quick change off screen here to a database that has a whole bunch of extra data in it. All right, so now we've got a database here. This has a whole bunch of different, different pieces of data here. So let's let's talk about stories. Storytelling has been from day one has been a huge huge emphasis for Nova 3. And I've talked a lot over the years about how we want to provide more context to stories. So the big thing here is that stories and posts live on a timeline. We'll flip this around so it's a little easier to see. So this is all of the stories that I have in the game. You can kind of see I've got seasons in here. I've got stories inside of the seasons. I actually have a story here that has sub-stories inside of it. So again, we're simplifying in the fact that there's no such thing as mission groups now. That's a totally separate thing to manage. It's just stories. If you want to put a story inside a story, you can do that. You can see here that we calculate total posts and words inside. So this is the totals for season 1, for example. I can come over here and I can see the story. I get my image, I get my stats. I can see all of the posts that are in here for this, this particular story. And we do the same thing for posts as well. This is likely going to change. If you get in, we kind of have found in testing that when you get into something that's got hundreds of posts, a setup like this tends to not work well because you end up having to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. But yeah, so that's story timelines. Managing stories, much the same way. You get controls when you add or edit a story to put things inside of another story, before or after a story. So if you decided that you wanted to come in here and you wanted to add a season 0 that's going to tell some stories in like a prequel manner, you can do that very easily. If you decide that you want to, in season 1, you want to put something that happens prior to or between 2 stories, you can do that. And it does not have to happen sequentially. You could tell all of season 1 or whatever, be in season 4 and come back to season 1 to sort of tell a story that's happening in there. So a lot of flexibility with how you organize your stories. The next thing here is post types. This is a new feature in Nova 3. In Nova 2, you really could only post as a mission post, a personal log, or a news item. That doesn't leave a lot of flexibility, though. So in Nova 3, we really wanted to provide a lot more flexibility. So now everything is a post type. And these are completely customizable. You can add as many as you want. And they give you a ton of control and options for kind of how you build these up and how you want them to behave. So for example, these are the defaults that come with an install. If I edit the story post, you can kind of see that I've got my name, a description, I can set a color, an icon, visibility. If you have in character and out of character post types. For the public facing site, the only thing we show are in character posts. So you have some control there where if you want something that shouldn't be shown to the outside world. You get to fully control the fields that are available. For example, and we'll show this in a couple minutes here, if you don't want users messing around with ratings on individual posts, you can just turn it off and it just won't show. Similarly, you can actually, you see here, title is required. You can actually set required fields based on the post type, and we won't let you publish without the required fields being filled. There's also a ton of options. You can choose about whether or not to send notifications when it gets published, whether it is included in post tracking, whether it allows multiple authors, whether it's only character authors or only user authors. You can restrict posting to specific roles, for example. So things like the post type of marker or note, you have to have a certain role to even see those in the list to be able to post into them. We've also added publishing windows for or editing windows for published posts. You can turn this off, or you can allow your users to actually edit published posts for a period of time. Maybe they post and they realize there's some typos, or they forgot to remove an out of character note, and it needs to get, so instead of coming to you as the game master to make those changes, you can actually empower them to do that themselves. And then when that window closes, they have to have admin permissions to actually edit something. But you can turn that on and off. So if I come back here quick to say, look at the journal entry, this one's a little bit different. Same fields, but now I'm saying this is a solo thing. You shouldn't, you can't have multiple users on a personal entry. So we turn off the multiple authors, and the post composition stuff will respect that. So really powerful stuff here. So let's take a look at posting, for example. When I come to create a new post, very simple. In this case, we only have one story available, so it's auto-selected. But you can have as many current stories as you want. So you can have, much like Nova 2, where you can, have a story that's sort of just a placeholder. You could have, 2 different locations, whatever you want to do. You have the ability. You can set up your post type. Because I'm an admin, I have access to everything. But let's just do a story post here, and then here are my active characters. So I'm just going to add the card here, and let's start writing. And this is the new post composition screen. I'll show this in a couple minutes. This is actually being rebuilt a couple weeks ago. I was doing some stuff and just really didn't like the way that the post creation stuff was working. The way that it looked, it was very clunky. So this is a lot more streamlined. So I'm in the process of finishing rebuilding this. But I can just come into here and let's do this. And you can kind of see here, we do some stuff in real time. It's going to tell you that you've got unsaved changes. Post locking is still in here. It's a little bit smarter this time. But you can kind of see, I can add all of my stuff. I can save. I can manage my authors. So this, let's add Riker to this post. Very briefly, characters can have multiple owners now. So in this case, Riker is actually owned by 2 different users. So I have to select which user is going to be playing him. But I also have the ability to add a user as an author to the post. And most people, when I've mentioned this, are sort of like, well, why would you want to do that? Because maybe Brian wants to be involved in this post, but none of his characters, it doesn't make sense for any of his characters. But let's say that oh, you know what? Martok's in this post. So Martok's here. Brian's going to play Martok. I don't need to add that character to the manifest, but Brian's going to get credit for writing on this as well. So I do this. My authors are updated in real time, and again, I can save and we're done. Content ratings. This allows you to actually change this for the post. I can say that, yeah, Martok's in this. It's going to be pretty violent. I don't need that, but it's going to probably be probably pretty mature. So we'll hit save. Again, updated in real time. I can add summaries. This is especially important for content ratings, which I'll show in a couple of minutes. And I can change the post position here. Hopefully this works. I was actually doing some work on it about an hour ago. So I can pick a post, and then I can say that I want this to appear before or after that post. So I can do that. This is going to update in real time. I also have the option to move it to the start of the story, the end of the story. And that's it. Save it, and we're good to go. So that's kind of the post stuff. You're going to be able to publish, discard the draft, all of that kind of stuff. Kind of quickly, I'll show the old. This will work. So this is the old kind of story flow. Let's come quickly and just grab a. So if I'm writing a story, this was kind of how it was before. Again, you're bouncing back and forth between steps, just not. But when I come to publish, and this will be similar to this, it'll be sort of that same style with a slide out. This is another big piece. In Nova 2, we basically tried to track who was participating in the post and then remove anybody who wasn't participating. People didn't really like that. I think a lot of people turn it off because if you compose outside of Nova and then bring it in, it doesn't account for that. So in this particular case, it's going to be a UI similar to this. You're going to actually be able to see all of the authors, or rather all of the users who are participating and the characters that they're playing. You'll be able to see how many words they've contributed to the post. And then you'll be able to remove anybody that didn't participate. So you have manual control over this when you go to publish the post. So that's posting. We'll bounce back over here. Let's take a quick look at the writing dashboard. This is, again, very different from Nova 2. Nova 2 is, I think, a little more utilitarian. We've got a little bit of everything in here. We've got some gamification, kind of showing you, how many words that you've actually, written in the game. This middle card here is going to show you where you are in terms of the posting requirements for the game. Get stats for the last 7 days, lifetime. These numbers match because I just seeded the database this morning. Posting contributors. So this is going to kind of show you a running tally of who the top contributors are. A lot of options here to make changes and kind of make this what you want. Any draft posts that you have going, and published posts over the last 30 days. So this just kind of gives you kind of a really good overview of kind of like writing and kind of like that's why it has its own dashboard. Is this is a big part of using Nova. So settings. I'm going to run through just a few settings here, just kind of call them out. You can shut down the contact form with a switch now. No more hacks, no more moving menu items, no more, none of that. You literally can just turn it off. Applications is the same way. You can just turn the join form off. You can set your message when it's closed. You've got some settings for application reviews, any global reviewers that should be added to every application. So a lot of stuff here. We've already seen characters, content ratings. This allows you to set the game's content ratings. Most people use sim ratings. They go out, they generate that, they put some HTML or an image on their site. This is going to let you do that right inside of Nova. You get to set your default language. Maybe we got a 2 here. Rating threshold warnings allow you to actually warn users before reading a post. So in order to show this, I'm going to set this to 1. But you get to set what the warning message is. Even the rating level descriptions, you get to change what shows underneath the rating control. So if I update that, you can kind of see quick if I come over to a published post. Let's grab this and let's view this. You can see right here that we've given a warning because we've said that anything that is a 1 or higher, we want to warn users about this. So this is just like, hey, it may not be suitable for all audiences. But the other piece that I think a lot of people don't think about with this is that content can be sensitive or triggering for different users for different reasons. So this does kind of let users know that there may be something coming that could be triggering for them. If a user has provided a summary, this is why the summary field exists. If you know that you've written something that's pretty heavy, pretty dark, you may want to put a small summary in there so that way they don't necessarily have to read the post to kind of keep up with the story. But then you can just hit continue and you can just jump in and you can read the post. So we've got content ratings here. You've got this for sex and for violence, so you get to control each of those. And it does, like we saw in the post stuff, it does you can't actually do it on an individual post setting. It will follow the game setting unless that a user has changed it for the post. Let's see here. This is something really small, but in terms of email settings, this lets you actually change all of your different configuration without going to an external file. Just works much nicer not to have to leave Nova to do some of this stuff. Notifications, a lot more notifications. You get to actually turn things on and off, whether or not to allow email for this particular type of notification, whether it's in-app. You can kind of see here the in-app notification panel. And Discord notifications. You can actually set up notifications for certain notifications to be sent to your Discord server. You literally just, will tell you where to find it, put the webhook URL, set an accent color, and you're good to go. Posting activity, these are the posting requirements for the game. Default is 250 words over a rolling 7 days, but I could also change this to say one post over a rolling 14 days to match what Nova 2's default is. I do that, and you can kind of see that our dashboard has now changed. Now my stats are for the last 14 days. My requirements are saying, hey, I only need one over that 14-day period. So again, these settings are going to sort of like trickle throughout Nova and kind of, let you make changes and not have to worry about changing it someplace else or anything like that. And then the last piece is appearance. I've talked about this before. There is no ability to theme the admin system in Nova 3. It adds so much complication, and we were finding that people were actually making changes that were breaking the admin panel in Nova 2. So we're kind of eliminating that, but we did want to give people the ability to kind of start to customize things. Quick note here, public site theme. You can pick your different themes. Themes can now have actually their own settings, so you can change all this kind of stuff. It's on a per theme basis about what you allow. But I can say I can add a logo here. We're going to grab my logo and we're going to hit update, and you can see that now my logo has updated in the corner. I can change colors. I can come into here. Let's change different shade of gray. Let's see. I'm going to make purple here. Let's do red on this. We're going to do maybe lime here, and maybe we do cyan. Let's change. We're going to do that one. Let's do this one. And I hit update, and you can kind of see, it's hard to see, but this is a warmer shade of gray. We've got different fonts here. My buttons have been updated to my primary color. And one thing to note about fonts, you can actually use Bunny fonts or Google fonts, and you can just give it a font name, and it will pull that from those places rather than from the server. So yeah, a lot of options there for appearance. Cool. So the next piece, applications, again, big piece of what we're trying to do here with Nova 3, and allow for collaborative application review. So I've got this application. I can see all the details for the user. I can see any details for the character, the application, when it came in, IP address, and I've got a list of users. I can manage these reviewers. I can add more people if I want, remove people. Like we saw in settings, I can change who's automatically added to this. So in this particular case, if I come back over and refresh this, I've added this user as a reviewer. So I can come into here, and there's kind of a discussion here. So let's just say, do this, and I can add a message here. You can also see that I can add a review. We'll do that in a second. But over here in the review, nothing shows up. We're going to wait a couple seconds, and this is actually going to pull the database, and it's just going to pop in here. So I can just do something like this. Thanks. I can send that back. And if I bounce over here, This will pop in a second. It's really smart, so it knows when the browser doesn't have focus and when stuff is hidden. So it's not going to be hammering your database or anything like that just because it's in another tab that's not shown. So we get a lot of that type of efficiency from some of the tools that we're using. So let's say I've gone through, I've done my review. Now I can actually kind of vote on this, and I can say, yeah, like, looks good to me. And I can send this. So now we've got this sort of like, hey, they've said yes. I can see how different people have voted now, and I can kind of see kind of a little bit of a progress bar for what's what. This is already updated. I can come in and I can say, it's a no from me, dog. And you can see, again, this is going to update. But ultimately, like, it's my decision as the game master. So I have this new button to make a final decision. And I got to refresh this. And then I can say, yeah, sure, let's do this. I can change the position. I can add new positions here. I can pick a rank. Let's see, we're going to do this as, this is a Petty Officer First Class. Welcome to the game. And I can hit submit. And then when I refresh this, this is marked as accepted. I can kind of see all of this status. An email will have been sent out notifying the user. You can see we do get notifications here about voted to accept. So that's applications. You have a lot of control here to kind of get more people involved. In the future, we'll probably allow conditional reviewers where you set conditions for when an individual user is added. For example, when the application is for let's say it's for somebody in your department, you want to add one or two people from the department to look at it. So a lot of collaborative stuff here that you can get into, and then you've got the history of this that stays with the application. Last piece I want to talk about, we got about 17 minutes left here, so I want to spend a few minutes and then kind of like open this up for questions. Let's talk about pages, because the wiki is gone in Nova 3, but we still needed a way for people to actually be able to create new content, create new pages. Big pain point in Nova 2, as most of you are aware. We have the concept of advanced pages. That's basically everything that you've seen already. It's got code behind it. You're programming. But there is also the concept of basic pages. And these are some basic pages. Most of what we have for the public site are basic pages. So if I come over here to the home page, this is kind of the default and how it kind of comes. We've got just some blocks here, some stats, a call to action. I can jump over and see characters. I can look at a bio. I can look at all of the stories, join, contact form, all of that. Most of this is driven out of the database with this pages feature. So for example, let's go in and we're going to change the home page. We're gonna add a button to this here. Let's do maybe something like this. We're gonna add this. Let's just do welcome to Khitomer, and we're gonna change this to a different color. This is a dark background, but let's throw something in here. Throw a light background in. Let's turn that off. No media, so let's just update that. And we can kind of keep coming through, making changes, adding new blocks, but we'll just publish this for the moment and take a look at what this is. So there you go. You can start to see where you can really kind of come in here and start tweaking and modifying things really quickly. You don't need to know HTML, so you kind of get a page builder that's built into this stuff. A lot of different blocks, a lot of different options. Stats, for example, you get to pick which stats you want to show. You get to change the heading if you want, change backgrounds, all kinds of different stuff. Let's take a quick look at like the characters page. This uses a special type of block for a character's manifest. So this kind of gives us a low fidelity preview. I can come into here. I don't like the cards, so you know what? Let's turn this into kind of old school Nova 2 table. I get to add some columns. See, I'm gonna add my character name. Let's show our avatar, show our rank name. We're gonna add position name. We'll fit that to the content, and then let's add the status just so that we can kind of see a few things. We can show departments on the manifest. We get to select everything active, inactive. We also get to select exactly which we want. There's also a feature that we've added for department and position tags. So you will, before launch, you'll actually be able to specify a tag. This is a really great way to build a page that shows a manifest. For example, Deep Space Nine, USS Defiant. You'd be able to actually have different pages with manifests that are specific. But we'll just do active departments. We're going to show active positions. You can turn available positions on and off. You can set which character types and which character statuses appear. But let's just do that. We'll publish that page. Jump back over here to our characters, and you can now see that we've got this with our position. We can actually even modify this further to say like, hey, the name should be 50%, and then you want to have, say, the position. So we'll expand this over time. We'll probably add the ability for you to add in any field that you have in your character form. So there's going to be a lot of control here to build your manifest up in the way in ways that you want. And last here, let's just go and just create a quick, kind of come through and create a quick page. We're going to just create a page for the enterprise. Set my URI. And have some options to like automatically set some content. There's SEO tools in here. More important for like public pages if you really want to like, narrow, narrow down some of your SEO stuff. But we'll just add that. It bounces us right into the design page. So you can see all the different blocks we have, hero blocks, call to actions, kind of like features with a grid, cards, alternating, different stats, logo clouds. If you want to like show logos of sister games or fleet logos or whatever, you have a really easy way to do that. Character manifests showing the story, content ratings, freeform content, a lot of options here. We're just going to do a quick block here. I'm going to generate a paragraph, throw that in there. Let's just do transparent for now. I'm going to do an image. Let's grab this. I'm going to do an image here. Thank you, Jet Freak. Nobody report me, please. And let's see here. Let's do it on the bottom. Let's insert this. Cool. Hit publish there. Before we do that, though, we need to be able to add a link. So let's come in and let's add a menu item. Link this to a page. Let's just call it the enterprise. We're going to grab a page we just created. Everything else is good to go. Add that. And if everything has worked correctly, I should be able to see my new link here to the enterprise page. And I now have my new page. So you can start to build these things up pretty quickly. Throw in some images, all of that. This is just one of the themes. Nova 2 comes with 2 themes. I believe Nova 3 is going to come with 5 or 6. So there's going to be a lot more options. There's going to be some Trek-specific stuff around kind of Picard era LCARs. Cerritos is one of them, which has kind of been a fun one to play around with, and kind of that old school TNG kind of lower decks kind of look and feel. So yeah, so that is a ridiculously fast overview of kind of what's coming in Nova 3. There is a lot more. I'll just kind of leave this up here while I wrap up here. A lot of other stuff, a lot of stuff we didn't have a chance to touch on. Just really, really great stuff. Really excited. As of right now, I'm kind of at the mercy of a package owner releasing a stable version of a plugin that we use everywhere, and I don't really want to release without the new version. That's not slated to actually be released until July, so the plan right now is probably an August public beta to kind of let everybody play around with this, find issues, all of that kind of stuff, with probably a fall release for Nova 3. We are still doing a private alpha. It's been a fairly small group so far that are getting regular updates to some of this new stuff and getting a chance to play around with it and provide feedback. I am going to be expanding that over the next few months. So if you've got time and you've got the patience to jump in and play around with this stuff, try to break it, all of that, find me. Like, would love to, love to get some more people in there over the next few months. So, so I think that that about does it for me. We've got about 8 minutes left here. So I just want to, I'm going to take a look at the chat here and, kind of open this up for any questions or any areas that we kind of saw or didn't see that you want to kind of take a look at here in these last few minutes. Let's just take a quick look. Let's see, it looks like Wes, when installing Nova 3, is it only oriented toward individual games? Is there a fleet mode where it makes a series of games in a farm style setup with shared credentials but multiple games? There is not. There are some plans. There is a possibility that by the time Nova is released, that it will be a multi-tenant application. But we would not have a situation where the installer creates multiple games. That would be a bring your own landlord. So you would actually have to write the application that manages the tenants and all of that kind of stuff. But it is something that's high on the list to take a look at and see if we can provide some flexibility for fleets that want to run a single instance with multiple games. Let's see here. Just running back through the chat. Let's see. All right. Wes is asking about push notifications. So the problem with push notifications is they're not free. So it certainly is not anything that would be in there by default. Also would not be in there for 3.0. Potentially down the future, we could say provide text message, for example, but it would be bring your own account. Like you'd have to have a Twilio account, a paid Twilio account, and all of that kind of stuff. Plug your credentials in, so that way it's charging you every time a text message is sent. There's potentially a lot of cost that comes with that. So certainly it's, the system is built in such a way that we can do it. It just becomes a matter of like, what should we do? And how much effort is it going to be to put something like that in if it's never going to get used by, anybody but one person? Let's see here. AO is asking about accessibility. Much more accessible than Nova 2. It has, we're using ARIA labels. We're using, correct DOM elements. There's some amount of attention paid to keyboard accessibility and being able to move through with keyboards. It's not a huge focus, and it'll probably be one of those things that kind of is updated and kind of improved as time goes on, and not necessarily kind of a central focus at this point. The focus right now is really finishing it and getting it out to the community. Conchi, no, there will be a migration script. Not everything can move. There are pieces that just can't be moved. But generally speaking, the stuff that's important, users, characters, stories, posts, that's all going to move over. The biggest thing with migrating is that Nova 2 does not track word counts on a per user basis. So there's some things that won't necessarily appear correctly out of the gate, but after a couple of weeks, everything will kind of stabilize and normalize. I did talk, too, about the content ratings. One of the things that got added recently is individual users will actually be able to change their content rating warning thresholds. So if there is a particular category that is kind of they're sensitive to or triggering to, someone can set their own kind of threshold that is different from the games. Techno Dodo, what's been my favorite part about building Nova 3? I might have to wait till next year's Khitomer to answer that question. The page builder was a lot of fun. It took about 6 months to build that. I'm not happy with it, so it's actually entirely possible that some big pieces of it will change. But it was a lot of fun, and thinking through like all of the ways that you could use this to kind of create your own content. The public site is very different in Nova 3 than Nova 2. Nova 2 is about let's put everything on the public site. Nova 3 is about the public site is meant as like a marketing tool. It's like, hey, here's our stories, here's our characters, come on and join us. But that's about it. You can obviously add more if you want, but we really try to limit that public site to just sort of be very informational. And then most everything else happens inside the admin. AO, yes, there will be. I haven't decided yet, but it is entirely possible that we will require the latest version of 2.7. You will have to be on 2.7, period. We won't allow migrating from 2.6. But we may actually go even further and require the latest version of 2.7. There is a possibility that as we do the migration work, we may have to make changes to Nova 2 to support things. So I'll know more about that in the next few weeks. Really probably by end of April or so, I'll be able to know that and be able to communicate that to the community so that everybody is aware and there's no surprises. Alex, there is actually a page on the Anodyne. This isn't. I haven't made this public yet, but there is some stuff here with the migration guide, where it's going to tell you application history comes over, bands will come over. We're going to do our best for the character form. That could be tricky. Departments and positions, maybe. There's some complication there. So there's a bunch of stuff here. Private messages will come over. So there are some notes about removed features. We're removing awards. That'll be added as a first party add-on later. specifications and tour items, that's gone. Again, will be a first party add-on. So there is a page. There is a page here that does outline that. AO, I'm not saying I'm doing a panel in 26. I'm saying that it may take me until 2026 to be able to tell you what my favorite part of building this. Because again, I've been building this on and on. I've been building this in different iterations for about 10 years. So I'm ready for it to be out and to be done with the kind of the rebuilding phase. All right. I think if there's no more questions, I got a couple people typing, but Nova 4 and 27, Dulac says. I'll say 28. We are gonna, it will probably be a little bit faster after 3.0 with some updates, but we'll probably move into a process that's two minor updates a year. Make it easier on game masters so they're not having to constantly do some of those updates, and kind of people know generally when things are coming for a new features and new quality of life stuff. Right. Well, I think that is my time. So I will. I'll wrap up here. I probably will be around. I'm going to be around. Feel free to hit me up with questions. Happy to continue any of these conversations. Yeah, really excited to get this out for people in the later this year. Really appreciate everyone's time, and have a wonderful day at Khitomer.